I'm coming back after 30 years of being a sign language interpreter. So I'm thinking something with deaf and hard of hearing, probably with the state, but I'm pretty open.
Cool.
I'm Brandon Perfetti. I'm in the RAC, and my goal is to be in an addiction treatment facility, working with adults.
Okay. What you're RAC? Is that-
RCE.
Okay. And then you're second year, aren't you?
No,
Okay.
first
No?
year.
First year, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You've just known me for a while.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because we worked together last year quite a
Yep.
bit. Yeah, okay. All right. And then how about you?
I'm Taylor. I'm in RAC.
Okay. Did you get it working?
I think
We hope
so.
Okay. Don't move. Okay. Stay really still. Okay, well, now that I know a little bit of you, I'm going to probably try to repeat your name, so if I get it wrong, just say it again. That's just how I memorize things. Like Dr. Coleman said, my name is Aaron Cross, and when I said that you're about to get underneath a big umbrella and you'll probably change, trust me, it's going to happen. So it's like going into your undergrad. You have no idea what's about to happen. So I'm going to give you a brief background on my setting. And how I got to this particular point, and then I'm going to just jump right into what my company does and who we serve and how we serve people and exactly where we serve, and then I'll jump into the opportunities for internships and practicums for any of you. It sounds like there's no VR people, is that correct?
Oh, there'll be a lot of VR people that will be going into that. In the future.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
So let's just start off from the beginning. When I was 15, I had a little bicycle accident, a little miscommunication with the van, hit the back of the van. I was trying out for the Olympic cycling team, and the support van stopped in front of me. I hit the back of it and broke my neck, and I became what's called a functional quadriplegic. So I have limited use of my arms. I'm actually paralyzed from the armpits down, don't have full function of my hands. Instantly, I got back into sports. Went to St. Cloud Tech High School here and had to go through all the issues and struggles that any new disability has in the school systems, whether it would be from the school system trying to force me to go over to another high school, to my friends blocking that actually and allowing me to stay at St. Cloud Tech High School. It's a whole long story. Within the 25 years, though, of having this situation or this life that I've lived, I was very blessed and able to learn a lot of different things from a lot of different areas. I was actually a consumer of voc rehab in high school, and like most high school students, they don't understand what voc rehab is, they don't understand what voc rehab can do for you, and you just want to be with your friends and be 16, 17, 18 years old. Went on to college. I got my undergrad at Augsburg College, not Oxford, but it's fun to let people think that I said Oxford. It is definitely Augsburg. My grades were not Oxford material. So I went to Augsburg and got my BA in mass communication with the emphasis of motivational speaking. And in 1997, graduated with my BA from Augsburg and started up my speaking business, Motivation on Wheels, Professional Public Speaking. I've been professionally speaking since 1997, but I've been speaking since 91. I have been speaking around the world since 97. It's been a lot of fun. Didn't even think about getting into this field whatsoever. Did not want to have anything to do with the human services field, except for helping people that had spinal cord injuries. The hospital hired me as a consultant, and they would call me in. I was on call with them for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If they got a new spinal cord injury, I would come in, and I would help their families, and I would help the spinal cord injury kind of get through things and learn things so they could jump them ahead, so they didn't have to go through all the struggles that were about to happen. Then in 2007, between 1993 and 2007, I had traveled around the world for the United States for the Paralympics and the World Championship team for archery. And at 2007, I asked a good friend of mine to marry me. She said yes. We got married. I moved to England, and yes, the country. So packed up everything, moved to England, got there, found out 8.5 months later that she never wanted to be married, found myself back in the United States again, but don't worry, I was working for the divorce court, so I knew how to fill out the paperwork. So I've had just a wondrous thing of wondrous life to get me to here, which when I landed, my dad told me I had an interview, and this is where we're going to start to get into how I got the job at the state. I got a job with a nonprofit agency here in St. Cloud. At the same time, I was actually teaching first year student experience at the Minnesota School of Business, so I was actually working at a college for a while. And then I got into the independent living skills specialist with a nonprofit here in town. And I worked for the nonprofit for about 2 years. And then in 2011, I left the company, and the counselors that I was working with asked me to go out on my own and become what's called an LUV, a limited use vendor. And so I filled out all the paperwork and started up my company, Motivation on Wheels, professional public speaking, life skills training, and started to do the independent living skills for the state of Minnesota, specifically the VR. The downside to being an LUV is that you could only earn up to $20,000. You would be capped at $20,000. And my first year experience with it was after we got everything rolling. That was the year that the state shut down. And so at the end of May, I submitted all the bills to get paid, and I ended up not being able to go see your consumers and get paid for it. But my company has a strict policy that if the consumers need you, you have to go. So throughout that time between June, July, and August that they were shut down, we still provided services and then just didn't get paid for it, which was kind of a bad thing, but it was actually a really learning experience because that actually made the bedrock principles of my company to which they are today. The consumer always comes first. And later, the next year, 2012, I had the fiscal year starts in July, and by November 1st, I had already hit the $20,000 mark. So I was being inundated with consumers, and I was being used quite often. We go to the nth degree to meet. It's not uncommon for me to put on about 200 miles a day for my consumers to drive to get to them. And with that being said, we actually got requested to do what's called a CARF accreditation, Commission on Accredited Rehabilitation Facilities. It's a pain in the ass accreditation. However, once you get that, you actually have literally no limit to what you can earn from the state of Minnesota. So once I got that and got accredited, then I actually started to bring on employees. And so now this year, actually last year was the first year that I brought on employees. I have 5 employees right now. We are, at that point in time, we're only in St. Cloud, Monticello, and the Cambridge office. And now we're in Wilmer, Monticello, St. Cloud, Cambridge, soon to be Cloquet, also Alexandria, and probably down into the Minneapolis South area. So we will be covering quite a bit of areas. So it's a great experience. What my company does is we have, yes, we do professional speaking. That's primarily my job, and also the IL skills. We teach everything from hygiene, communication skills, interviewing skills, everything that you and I probably take for granted, we do for them. The Voc Rehab calls us up and says we have a consumer that needs help, and with these particular areas, 90% of our business right now is the transition age, so it's 16 to 21, and we work a lot with the driver's permit and interviewing skills, and communication skills and hygiene. That's our primary business right now. We do also have people that are the non-traditional IL staff, which is usually relocated or dislocated workers from factories that have packed up and shipped overseas or something like that. So now you have a person that's anywhere from the age of 55, 60, still wanting to work, but has only worked in a factory their whole life, so they do not have interviewing skills, they do not have communication skills, and they, for the lack of the better word, have come from the old boys club or the old girls club, where it's not appropriate to sit down, scratch your belly, and fart during the interview. Employers have a tendency to not like that very much. So I get called in, my team gets called in, and we start to work with everything we have. My staff is, right now, is a cohort of mine, Lisa Moen. She actually is a graduate here at St. Cloud State University for the VR program. We also have Tom Cross, who has been a social worker, licensed marriage and social worker for 41 years. So he retired and wanted something fun to do, so he's actually been doing this part-time. And then we have Connie Cross, who is actually the office manager, and now we have another voc rehab counselor coming on board. They're probably going to be leaving their job within the next week and want a part-time job, and they'll be out of Wilmer. And then the Alex area, so it's a widespread. We do a widespread. For the most part, we do not turn anyone down unless they are a danger to my staff or a danger to themselves. We work with everybody trying to make sure that they have it. We have everything from OCD. I've worked with people that have brain injury with multiple personality. To give you a heads up, I've actually had SWAT teams bust in the doors to serve a warrant. I've had a lot of different interesting things on the job, but it has been a great job and it's been very successful. And when it comes down to it, my company has 5 basic rules. Rule number 1, the consumer always comes first. Rule number 2, we will not lie to you, we will not lie for you, and we will always give you a straightforward, no bullshit answer. That's the way we put it to them. We do not have time to beat around the bush, and if we tell you that it's not going to happen, that means we have exhausted everything that we possibly can. However, we are one of the only companies with employees that have no problem being proven wrong. So we also tell our consumers that if we say it's not going to happen and you go out and do it, you come back and rub it in our faces because we want to celebrate your success. Okay? Number 3, we will break every rule within legal ramifications to make sure that the consumer has everything that they need. On numerous occasions, the voc counselor has said, we can't do that, and it's my company's policy to ignore that, and we do whatever we can to make sure that the consumer has it. We'll deal with the counselor later. Our job is to make them succeed. Then we have a 3-hour cancellation policy, and the 5th rule is that we give 110%, but we expect 140% in return. Now, with regard to internships and practicums, if you were to decide to actually do that, I will know for sure probably by March 1st if we're going to have a practicum slot open for the St. Cloud area. And I'm thinking that still gives us a little time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
To get,
Oh yeah, long time.
okay. I'm hoping to know more. Right now, a caseload for the practicum, what that would look like is you would actually work with Lisa here in town, and Lisa does the St. Cloud office, and she travels everywhere from Malacca up to Little Falls to through St. Cloud, all the way out to St. Martin and the Paynesville area. So you would probably just carpool with her and do that type of thing. And we could also flip-flop so that you would be with any of our counselors. So we could take you down to Wilmer with us so you get a new perspective of a VR counselor becoming an IL counselor versus an IL counselor becoming a VR counselor. There's a big difference. You'll ride with all of us. You'll get a wide variety of experience and a wide variety of counseling skills while you go through the practicum. And that's usually, is that still 100 hours?
Yes.
Practicum? Yeah, so you would have a wide variety of that. Then within the internship, you would have, more than likely, you would be in the St. Cloud area or the Monticello area. You would have one of our counselors following you for the first couple of weeks to make sure that everything is kosher. You will understand our security issues and things like that. And then you would literally have a caseload of your own, and our company would actually be a paid internship. Okay, and right now, for the internship that was paid right now, you'd be a second year, so that person would actually be right around the $20 mark, okay, for a paid internship.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, So we're looking at doing that. So depending what, that's the way I want to pay, because you all have skills. You will be darn near close to having your master's degree. I do not understand. I just refuse to not pay you. We can only bill for face-to-face time. I do pay for partial mileage. Okay, so it doesn't seem like much, but at the end you can do things with your accountant, and you actually, it's actually quite nice. But throughout that time, you will be working with schools, you will be working with lawyers, you will be working with PO officers, you will be working with VR counselors, you will be working with psychologists, job skills trainers. You will be going from 1 degree to 180 degrees in the opposite direction, from consumer to consumer. I can tell you that you will be driving, so you will need your driver's license, a valid driver's license. You could easily put on close to 150 miles, easily in a week, easily, depending on how you do it. So for example, let's say, this is the cool part about my company though. Let's say you have a school, let's say Monticello High School, and we've got 6 people at that school, and they're all doing driver's permit training. You put them all in 1 hour, but you charge for 6 hours because you have 6 individual people in there. So if you get all 6 done in that 1 hour, your day is done, and you just billed for 6 hours in 1 hour. So, and I'll pay you for the 6 hours, because that's what you did. You taught 6 individuals. So there's a lot of great things with this company that we can do. But I believe in showing your talents and things like that, and I will interview you before I even take on, so you will have to pass the interview, and that interview will consist of myself, the other counselors, the other IL counselors, and 1 person from the community. So, but they will have skills in that area. So it's a tough job to get into, because I only want the best. Okay? Yes?
And would your role be in bringing somebody in that you would like to keep them if you grow?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If they want to stay on, they would actually stay on. So if that's what they wanted to do. You do not need to do your practicum with me to have an internship. I'm perfectly fine with that. You'll have skills by that time. I will expect you to know how to do notes, chart notes. I will expect you to know how to communicate with other counselors. I will expect you to know how to deal with many difficult people. And I will expect you to have some sort of a background working with people with disabilities. If you don't, if your skills are that good, I will bring you on and we will train you. So that's where it's at. So everybody on my crew all has master's degrees or better. So it's look to head forward with you and to work with you and to go with whatever we need to do. It is a very laid-back job, and you can make your own hours. Okay, as long as you're meeting your consumers, good to go. If you have kids, don't worry about it. Okay. We don't have daycare, but if they're little tiny ones, I love kids. So bring them on over. I'll let my consumers go somewhere else, and I'll just play with the kid, not a problem. So don't worry about it. So if you've got a lot of things going on, it works. So we definitely will bend over backwards to make sure that you are a good fit and we're a good fit for you. So yes.
Are you just bringing 1 intern in, or?
That depends on how the services go right now. Right now we are getting so inundated with consumers that it's possible that I can bring on 2, okay? It is possible, but I know that I would like to bring on 1 for sure. Right now, when I say we're slowing down, I mean each one of our staff has about 15 consumers on their caseload, okay? So, and that's slowing down. That's only because we're going into the school year. The first 2 weeks of school, the kids are meeting the counselors, meeting the teachers, getting their programs set up. It's October when all hell breaks loose. And that's when I go on vacation and I leave it up to you all. But it will be quite common for you to have anywhere from no less than 10 consumers on your caseload and as many as 25. So it can be that inundated. And so what we do also, we just started doing this, since Wilmer's hammering us with consumers right now, We just load up in my van and we all go down and then we just, in one day, we meet all the consumers. We just get rooms and we just, at the VR place, and we just meet our consumers there. Or we go to the library and just meet it all there. So we carpool, so it's less mileage on you, it's less wear and tear. We can debrief on the way back home. We can do chart notes on the way back home. And it's really a great program. If we need to do that to go up to Alex, we'll do that. Well, I'll just jump in the car, I'll have all the counselors with us, and we'll just go. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
I have a question. So part of the grant scholars, you have to do some work in a state or federal facility.
Mhm.
Being that you're doing some state reimbursement, does that ever kind of coincide with each other, or how do you think that works out?
I was on the RSA grant as well, and they are taking my job, because I work with VR, they're taking my job as working with the state of Minnesota, because we are CRP for the state of Minnesota. Our contract is directly with the state of Minnesota. So they are taking that as VR work, because we are working directly hand in hand with every single state agency there
Good
is.
question. That's a good question.
So, and that was a load off my mind.
Yeah.
Because after I graduated, I'm sitting there thinking I've got to close down my business or sell it so I can get a VR job. And then we got approved that this was fine. So if they approved me, I cannot see them saying, no, it's not going to work. Because Lisa's on the RSA grant, and she's getting it all squared away too. So.
Wow, $20 an hour plus good experience plus a future job.
Yep.
Future requirements. So Aaron, why are you so successful? I know why you are, but can you tell them why your business has been so successful?
There's that. I guess my company is really known throughout the counselors, just grab them and pass them down, throughout the counselors, because we go past the border lines. Companies have a certain radius that they work at. And, for example, meaning mile radius, okay? And companies don't like to send their persons out to one area for one person, okay? My company does. We do not turn people down because they're in rural areas. That's not their fault. They're there, and they need services. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is that we take the IL skills to the nth degree. We do things in a very elaborate manner. We teach in unorthodox ways. When it comes to driver's permit, all my staff have matchbox cars. They have maps on the streets, printed out streets and stuff like that. We go to the nth degree to help them learn. You will become a master of many trades. You will learn the commercial driver's license study books. You will learn the Minnesota State driver's license. You will learn the CNA, the Certified Nursing Assistant, which you and who's the other nurse? Was there another nurse in here? I want you. You're in LPN? Is that what you said? Yeah, I want you. How you doing? How you doing? You just might have sealed your fate on that one. So we
arm wrestling.
we do everything. We do not turn a person down. If we do not know the skill, it is my company's policy that we find somebody and we will hire them as a private contractor through our company so we get that skill. It is our job to get the job done. We also do it in a very timely manner. So let's just go with the driver's permit because that's the easiest way to look at it. When I first started teaching driver's permit, it was taking me about 12 weeks to 13 weeks to get them to pass the driver's permit, okay? Now I'm down to 5 sessions, so that's 5 hours, and I have a 98% success rate scoring an 85 or 88% or better on the exam on the first go through. So we get them in, we get them out, and we don't dilly-dally. And so when other companies might take a little longer, which is great, take as long as you want, because they keep giving me business. So that's great. So we train you and we go the nth degree. If you come to me and say, my consumer needs a tour of a college, We're taking them to the tour of the college. So, and we're gonna get them through it. You will learn a lot about assistive technology. You will learn about the new programs from voice recognition, and you will become a master of the Chrome extensions. Most of the people do not know about the Google Chrome, but there's actually programs on this right now for Google that are free, that you can actually highlight something off of the website, drag it over to another document. It will not only put it in APA or MLA file, it will mark specifically what web page it's on, and it'll say who the author is just by dragging it over to your thing. You will use that program a lot with your consumers. We have the Read and Write program, or the Rewordify, which is a program that actually takes textbooks online, you copy and paste it, put it into another program, and it actually, I'm going to use the word dumb it down. It takes a PhD book and it brings it down to a 6th grade reading level so your students can read it. So you will learn all the basics from reading paper. Are you familiar with reading paper? Any of you? It's a great tool for kids that have ADHD or dyslexia. It's just a clear piece of, almost looks like cellophane paper, and we dye it different colors, yellow, green, blue, and then we cut it into strips, and then we lay it on the book, and it slows the brain down. It looks like a highlighter, so the kids are highlighting it all the time, so you can lay it on the book, and you will learn a lot about it. You will also learn about many different types of physical, mental, and emotional inconveniences, from spinal cord injuries to you will become very aware of cerebral palsy. You will become aware of working with people with speech impediments. You will become aware of traumatic brain injuries, and you can take that and learn it into any field that you are going. Especially, if you work with my company, there is no way that you will come out of there not comfortable working with somebody with a physical, emotional, or mental inconvenience. You will look at a chair and you will know what the chair is. You will look at the person and you will know situations. And you won't even blink. You'll know it and forget about it unless they need help. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Any other questions? Concerns? Holy crap, this is just crazy.
Aaron, how about the relationship between the DVR or the VR and yourself? Like, would they be responsible to kind of set up or have with the VR counselor? Because it sounds like they contact you and then you'll decide the case. Is that how it works?
Excellent question.
Okay.
So if I don't explain it, if I don't answer your question, just let me know and I'll explain it a different way.
Okay.
So VR contacts us. They give us an authorization for an intake, okay? We go and meet the consumer with the counselor. Okay, we're just implementing that now. Some of the counselors don't go to the intakes, but recently actually last night had an intake, and we needed the counselor there.
Right,
okay?
right.
So now we're going to implement that now that we require the counselor to be at the intake. So the counselor will introduce you to the person. They will tell you what the goals are. We'll go over our intake policies, things like that. Then from that moment on, you are working literally one-on-one with the consumer. But every single Friday, if you have notes for that consumer, you will send them off to the counselor. If there's an issue,
Great.
you will be talking to the counselor every single week. You'll be talking to the person's parents. You'll be talking to the school. So you will need to have your A game for communication skills.
Awesome.
And I don't want that to scare you. It's because most of the time it's very laid back conversations. And
I think it's great. No, that was my question. I wanted to see their exposure with VR.
Yep.
And just having, facilitating that, professional relationship between the counselor and the consumer, which is fundamental, but also to think about it in a multidisciplinary approach where everyone's on the same page. Because if the VR counselor is doing one thing, or the teacher is, advocating one type of therapy, and you're not kind of following that thought process, it can get a little bit, it's hard when there's so many different people on the team. So that's great that the counselor is involved.
you'll also be working with a lot of the job skills training. So the job skills coaches. So you'll be working with them, so you'll get their field of what it's like to work with the person actually at the job. So you get a consumer that's, you know, at the school, working in the library, working with you on a certain program, and the job skills coach comes up and says, they're doing this during the job. I mean, they're either exposing themselves, they're burping, they're doing whatever, and it can get to that. So you have to work with them or her on those skills. And you have to be able to take in everybody's approach and just find that your approach, if it's working, that's what we need to do. So, yeah, absolutely. You'll have lots of experience with other counselors. Anything else? So who's scared to death of grad school right now?
I was hoping you would say that. That was gonna be my question. These are all first week people.
Yeah.
A week and a half.
Second week.
Well, yeah, kind of a week and a half.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what your,
Yeah, we're done with the second week, actually.
I don't know what your
Right.
background is for grad school, how you got here, but let me just give you a quick background on how I got here. This was craziness. I was having lunch with two of my friends, and all I want is a house. That's all I want. I feel like Eeyore. I asked for a house, and this is what I got, okay? A master's degree, okay? So it literally, we're having lunch with two of the VR counselors that hire me, and they said that there's a job opening up in Hinckley for a VR tech, and my response was, I don't have my master's, I can't do it. And I said, well, you don't need your master's for a VR tech position. And I went, oh. I said, well, I really don't want to, it wasn't Hinckley, I'm sorry, it was Cloquet. I said, I really don't want to move up to Cloquet, no issue, you know, not wanting to do that. And I said, besides, I'm not smart enough for master's program, and I certainly don't have the money. Well, then the other counselor said, well, don't you use Volk Rehab? They said, yeah, I'm a consumer. They said, well, they get paid for it for you. So out of a joke, I called up my counselor and said, so, you know, got asked to go into the VR program at St. Cloud State. You know, they're asking me to check it out. So then I call up Dr. Coleman.
In August.
In August, and I said, is there, you know, any chance that I
Third
can
week
get
of
it?
August.
Yeah, can I get into the program? You know, I was thinking he would say, sure, we'll bring you in the winter quarter. He goes, why don't you come in for an interview? And we had it, something happened, but it was like Friday before the start of school.
August 25th.
Yeah. So I come in and meet him and Dr. Knopf for a 3-hour interview, and Dr. Coleman gets up and goes, well, classes start on Monday, 12 o'clock, see you then. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, what?
It was literally
I
that.
just lived
Yeah, okay.
I 2 weeks ago, I met with Dr. Knopf to try to really prep myself for next fall, just, you know, really get what I needed to. Met with her for a little over an hour, introduced me to Dr. Marr, showed me around. By the end of it saying, I would love to push through an app, you know, think about it. The next day she called and said, somebody dropped out, orientation is tomorrow, classes start Monday, you're in the program.
Yes. It was an interesting start because I had to kind of do my classes backwards because all the classes were full. So
Right.
things kind of got kind of whopper-jawed, but it was great. And then I had just won an award, so I was being sent to Africa for this safari on the second week of school, or the second or third week of school, right? So I was doing speaking over there and helping people with disabilities over there too, so it kind of fit right in with the program. And then I come back and then they were talking about doing the ability event, which you really all need to be a part of, okay? I don't care if it's just by a little or a lot, you need to be a part of it. It is changing. And we decided to do a grant, or they decided to do a grant to bring the ability event to China. And we had a situation where some of the accessibility we knew was going to be issues for some of the people. So I'm in a meeting with them and I said, what you need to do is you need to send somebody over that's a GIMP and have them go through it and see what the situation's like and see if we can handle it. And Dr. Knopf looked at me and said, when do you leave? And I said, yeah. And then later that night, I get a phone call from Dr. Kathy Johnson from the Confucius Institute and said, your plane ticket's for December 6th. And I said, for where? And where am I going? And she said, you leave for China. And I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
I said, what about finals? And next thing I know is I'm on a plane to China,
Oh my God.
land in China, to find out that the van that they had got for me was not accessible, so I had to crawl up the stairs into the van. And then we got to the hotel and they heard that there was a person in a wheelchair coming, so the hotel staff had wheelchairs, and I come crawling out and jump in my wheelchair and roll into the hotel. I thought they were gonna die, because they'd never seen somebody in a wheelchair do whatever I was, let alone go into a hotel room by themselves. And they were just kind of like, what's going on? Next thing I know is, took me 9 hours and I had an AK-47 pointed at me. Because it's against the law to go break the barrier. On the fence, there's a fence line there, you know, so you don't go on the street, okay? And so I lifted up the fence because there was no ramp or there were all steps, so I had to jump the curb. So I lifted up the fence, jumped the curb, rolled across the street, jumped up the curb, and what are you doing? My guide was saying, no, they're like, oh, and so the guide talked me out of going to Chinese prison, I guess. So, yeah, so it was an amazing event, and that's where I actually did, 5 presentations while we were in China. One was to the Chinese Women's College, which was awesome. I shot a clay pigeon out of a girl's hand, and she was just, anybody want to volunteer? The president, Earl Potter, President Potter, who just passed away, he was there, and he had never seen me do a show. And here we are in China, about to sign a contract with this university, and some student is about to shoot at a girl in a communist country. So, worked out slick as snot and right as rain. I'm back in the country, so yeah. So, but we did a lot of changes there. We made a lot of eyes open up. So, when you're worried about thinking about an umbrella or worried about what's going to happen, don't worry, because next week it's going to change. And by Thanksgiving, you'll be into a groove, and by Christmas time, you'll come back for the second semester, and you will be like a well-managed sailor, just being able to sail the 7 seas. You're going to be fine. Just take your time, think it through, ask questions, and definitely give it 5 months.